Sounds good. Thank y'all.
All right, we've now been joined by Corey laJoie. And Corey, thank you so much for spending some time with us here in Bristol. Before we open up to the media for questions, you have a special paint scheme this weekend honoring pediatric cancer awareness. Just tell us a little bit about why that cause is special to you.
Yeah, so the paint scheme's the same. The only difference is the number. It's a gold full number. So the gold ribbon signifies Pediatric Cancer Awareness Month, which is September. We were at a pediatric cancer center this morning giving out some joy jars, so it was fun doing that, just interacting with those kids, giving out some stickers and some passing out some smiles. So that was good stuff. It actually really helps me to keep in perspective of how much of a blessing it is to do what I do each and every weekend while you've got families in there, and their kids are fighting for their life. So it's nice. It's a nice perspective adjustment before you roll into the racetrack for a race weekend.
You have the kickball tournament coming up here in just a couple of weeks. Anything you can share with us about what that event will look like this year?
It's going to be big. I believe Jordan and Jeff put out a story. I think it was just Jordan on the Athletic this week. We did like a little pre-event scouting report on a lot of different guys. We had some fun with that, laying out a lot of pros and cons, a lot of weaknesses for the lack of driver athletic abilities. So, Leanne's here, Phil Belfield from the Kannapolis YMCA, all those guys to put in, countless hours to herd the cats, as you guys well know. It's what you guys do each and every week, of like herding 40 some odd race car drivers into one place at one time is certainly an undertaking, but it benefits the Kannapolis Y, Samaritan's Feet. We've raised over $200,000 in the last couple of years, so hopefully we can get over $300,000. And it's a really fun day leading into the Roval weekend. It's become a passion project of mine, and I take kickball almost as much as serious as I take racing. Maybe equal on some days. We'll see. We'll see how it goes October 5th.
All right, we'll open for questions now. If you have a question for Corey, feel free to raise your hand. We'll get a mic to you. We'll start with Stephen.
Steven Toronto, CBS Sports. Corey, last week you had your 18th lead lap finish of the season, which is a new career high for you. Not only that, but you've still been running at the finish of every race so far this season, and I believe you're the only driver in Cup who's been able to do that. I know we talked at the beginning of the year about the way Spire was growing and building. What do you feel like the status of that is as you come toward the end of this season, looking toward 2024?
Yeah, it's certainly something I'm proud of, is being the only car so far, knock on wood, right? We're sitting here at Bristol where anything can happen in a split second. But that was our biggest objective in the offseason leading to this season, where we only ran 83% of the laps last year. And that's part driver mistake, a lot of mechanical issues with the new car, trying to figure out the weak links there. And just the growth of a small team. There's a lot of growing pains there that we ironed out. We got the right people at the right positions to negate all those mechanical failures that we had. So if we continue that, keep executing, not putting ourselves in bad spots, I feel like I've been as focused as I've ever been in my career, getting more experience. We've had some decent pace over the last 6-8 weeks, and we need to just do a better job of executing when we do have pace. And I think that starts this weekend. But, yeah, for us to be the only car so far, 32 weeks in, or whatever it is, 28 weeks in so far. We're certainly proud of that as a team, but it's also not all that we're looking for. We're looking for just some better runs, better qualifying efforts, because I feel like a normal day for us right now should be top 20. If we execute, we generally have pace to finish between 16th and 18th. And, and that's a big step from where we were the last couple of years. And I think we're going to continue trending in that direction. And there's a lot of growth to be had within Spire Motorsports, and I'm excited to be part of it.
Right. And speaking of which, you mentioned your pace. The 77 has had improved pace in the second half of the season. How has that helped the 7 out?
Man, it's something I realized more so than ever when I got a cup of coffee and I was over at Hendrick for 3 days driving the 9, where all 4 of those teams, the engineers, the crew chiefs, and the drivers, are always consistently setting a higher watermark. And when you're in an environment like that where every team individually is pushing the entire team forward, that's where the biggest growth and that's where the biggest development happens. So I feel like for us, with the business model that Spires had to have with part-time guys in the 77, it kind of slowed our rate of how much we collected data. So it is nice to have a veteran guy like Ty in this year just to help us build and refine our baseline setup. And I think that, having more points of data over the course of the week, over a course of a 20-minute practice session, you have to collect data fast and be efficient with applying it in your race car. And that's nice to be able to see improvements over the last 2 months.
Thanks, Corey.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, we'll go to Zach and then Lee.
Zach Sterniolo, NASCAR.com. Corey, the kickball tournament, just how have you seen that grow? Are you surprised by how well it's been received, both by people on the outside of the industry, but as well as just the whole driving core?
Man, when I had the idea, I would hope to be as big as it is now, but I didn't think that it would be possible. And there's so many factors that play into that allows it to be as big as it is. And the biggest thing is just the people who help put it together. The Kannapolis Cannonballers have kind of wrapped their arms around it like it's their own. Built's continued to support it over the last 3 years. Now Celsius is a part of it. We keep getting partners and teams and just people really excited to show up. But I think kickball, too, is a particular sport where you don't have to be the most athletic. I mean, everybody can kind of play. It's a little bit more engaging than a golf tournament, right, where you're just with your foursome the whole time. So I think we struck a little bit of gold in terms of just the format and the camaraderie that sport in particular kind of promotes. So because the other day last week, McDowell was like, "Well, you need to change your event to a pickleball event." I'm like, "No, you can do Michael McDowell's pickleball event if you want to, and I'll play." I'm sticking with kickball because I'm good at that, and then let everybody else come out and play. So, it's going to continue to grow, and as long as all the players are going to be involved, I'm happy to keep doing it.
Lee, go ahead.
Lee Spencer, CatchFence.com. I was fascinated by the discussion you were having on Sirius about the sons of, former champions, and just you guys kind of look through the lens a little bit differently, and just talk about what it's like to know that you're trying to reach a pinnacle that your dad reached, or maybe you're not trying to reach it. Maybe you just want to be Corey. I mean, it was good enough for Dale Jr., right? But can you just, kind of talk a little bit about that and why that seems to be the case for so many of you?
Yeah, I think, and it's not like we've all sat around a campfire and sang Kumbaya and talked about it, but you look at, certain guys, Dale probably being the most pronounced one, but there's so many father-son relationships in this sport that have been prominent. But the biggest one was the point of topic was Chase, right? It was like the driver-son complex. And I can relate to it slightly, but, even though Dad was, he voted in the top 75 greatest NASCAR drivers, like, Bill Elliott was $1 Million Bill. And I think that, and even in my case specifically, in my opinion, no matter what I do in the sport, I feel like it'll never be up to as good as my dad, right? Because my dad was just my idol. He was my hero growing up. So there's a little bit of no matter what you achieve in the sport, you don't feel like you're going to be as good as your dad. And I feel like, that's some of the things. Chase is the way he is. That's some reason. Probably Ryan is the way he is. Blaney. And Dale's been pretty vocal about that as well of his dad. But it is, I think, as much as you're under a microscope growing up as the son of, a famous race car driver, you still put that as much pressure and expectations on yourself to try to live up to what people expect you to do, being the son of somebody that has an established career. So there's certainly some stuff there that I'd be interested to hear those guys' opinion on if it affects their psyche or not. But I think whether or not they acknowledge it or not, certainly it shapes who you are and what kind of career you have. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff there, I think.
All right, Dustin?
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Did you ever sing the anthem with the MRO kids before the race?
No, so I was always a Saturday, or I guess a Friday night kid with my dad, right? But I remember watching the Bristol night race up in a suite that they had. So they only did the kids sing the national anthem for the Saturday Night Cup guys, and I think when I was old enough to kind of like know how to sing, and dad wasn't in the Cup Series, he was still a Busch Series guy. So no, maybe I might be wrong, but I don't remember being on the front stretch with my golden pipes.
This weekend, everybody in this room is going to be paying attention to the cutoff and the playoff points and so forth. You're kind of in a battle for 25th. Now, I know that's not as sexy to most other people, and I know you'd like to be higher. But what is that, I don't know if say it's pressure or how you view trying to get into 25th or 24th, what that means? How much, is it as much as like what these playoff guys are going through? Or can you give me a sense of what, your little personal battle with, trying to get there with like 4 other guys?
Yeah, I don't feel like our place is under any pressure because the guys that we are within striking distance of shouldn't be back there with us anyways, right? If you look at it, and a lot of those guys, if they get eating up a spot, then it's just more fire under their seat. But I challenged our team, even though we're not in those top 16 with reset points and racing for a championship, I challenged my guys to almost reset the points against those 4 or 5 guys, couple in front of us, couple behind us, and have our own little playoff point structure and see if we can just chip away at it 1 week at a time with 10 races left. Because I don't know for certain, but there is a big monetary difference with end of the year points payoff between 25th and 26th. I think that's where they cut off the owner's points or something. And then our car too is in different spots because the 7 finished last at Gateway when it broke a rotor, so it's 15, 20 spots behind or points behind where I am in driver's points. So I look at driver's points because that's who I'm comparing. I see my name on it, but then the one that pays is the one that I need to go get a little more effort and get 20 more spots throughout the course of the year. But there are certainly 3 cars in the crosshairs that I feel like we can, when we execute, we can beat each and every week, and we're going to have to, and we can't have any off weeks for the rest of the year if we want to go get those guys.
All right. Any final questions for Corey? Okay. We'll close with Jeff.
Bristol Dirt's not coming back. What do you think?
Hallelujah.
What?
Now, I was outside of the trackside live stage earlier, and Alex Weaver mentioned that. It wasn't the first time I heard it, but that was like the first kind of official announcement. She said it, and there was a majority of the fans were excited. And I said, well, guys, you guys have to come to the race, or else they'll put ice or gravel or some sort of other funky substance on top of the racetrack to make it a flash in the pan. So the people who are clapping, you better be here in the spring with your butt in the seat. So either the race doesn't go move somewhere else, or they don't figure out some other substance to put on it. Thanks, guys.